For this how-to, we're going to show you how to clean your chain. I'm using the Park Tool kit. It comes with pretty much everything that you'll need to do a cleaning on your bike, on your chain. You can use this for road bikes, mountain bikes, BMX bikes, any bike with a chain. They retail for about $35 at your local store. And like I said, it comes with a few things here. You've got the actual cleaning component here. Has a little handle that slides on. You've got the cleaning solution. It's a citrus-based cleaner. You can buy that separately once you have used that all up. And a little tool here to clean in between your chain and cogs and get in all of the little areas, little brush. Instructions if you need them, but it's pretty straightforward, and once you watch this I don't think you'll have any questions. So, first things first, you're going to get out the main housing component and the handle, and you'll just slide the handle into the little groove there, like so. Gives it nice grip so you can hold on to it while you're running the chain through. You're going to need to get your bike up off of the floor in some way. I've just basically tied off my bike onto a bar stool using some twine. And that holds the back wheel off so I can spin that freely forwards and backwards. The instructions just say to backspin the chain, but I like to go in both directions just to make sure I get everything just as clean as possible. Also, you're going to want to put down a nice drop cloth because if you're working on your bike on the inside, as I am, in an urban environment at a condo or an apartment, you really don't want to get the solution on the carpets because it will stain. And I don't know how well hardwood will react to it if you have hardwood floors, and I don't really want to find out. Grout will probably get stained if you've got tile floors, so that's just a little bit of FYI. You're definitely going to want to do that. So after you've got your bike up there situated, off the floor, something underneath of it, you're going to need to start using your tools, of course. So the first thing that you're going to do is unhook the top. So there's two little clasps, you just flip them off and that releases the top cover. Once the top cover is off, you're just going to fill up your solution to the fill line. It's very, very simple. You can get probably about 3 cleanings out of one of these bottles. The bottle that comes with it is 8 ounces. You can go buy more if you use it all up, and they also basically tell you what you can replace it with if you don't want to buy the cleaning solution in the instructions. It's, not too difficult. So after you have gotten your solution in there, you're going to go ahead and attach the device to the chain. So it's pretty simple. Once again, you're just going to insert the chain into these little grooves. So there's a little wheel here with an opening for you to put the chain in, and there's a small foam piece that catches a lot of the debris and cleans the side chain. Now when you put the top back on the device, you're going to want to make sure you get it in the right direction. There's a little brush here and then a piece down below that pushes the chain down into this. So you're going to want to make sure you get it on that way. Basically, if you have any questions, the brush should line up with the handle. After you've got the top on, you're just going to reattach the clips to the side, and now you can start running the chain through. So you start out with the backwards motion. You may need to, support your bike depending upon how you're holding it. And you're just going to run the chain through here. And you're going to do this as many times as you feel necessary to get the chain as clean as you want it to be. Depending upon how fast you run it, You know, how many times you run it will dictate how clean it gets. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this a bunch of times, and then we'll come back once that's done, and we'll continue. Now, as we've been going through here and running this through a couple of times, I like to switch directions and go back. And as I do this, I like to pop the gear up one at a time. That way I can be sure I am cleaning all of the rear cogs at the same time, cleaning my chain. And then I'll do the same thing for the front gear. Just run it one, you know, the chain around one rotation, 2 rotations maybe. Also, when you're doing this, it's good to keep pressure up on the tool, the park tool cleaner, as this forces the chain down into that foam piece and the rear gear down below with the side washers on it to clean the sides of the chain. As I said, you will notice that when this is happening that the solution is leaking onto your cloth below. You know, that's just because it's on the chain and it exits the cleaner housing, and it's just dripping off as it goes around. And again, the faster you run the chain through, the more fluid that leaks off. So it's good to keep it at just a nice steady pace going around and around. Side note, you're going to want to clean your bike after this, depending upon how dirty your chain was and how much spillage you have. You'll notice that it does leak off onto your frame back here. It's supposedly, you know, a safe cleaner, so it shouldn't hurt the paint of your bike, but I don't like to leave it on there. You never know. Alright, we've now run it through. You'll notice that little pieces of plastic may be sticking out of the chain every once in a while. This is just little pieces of the actual brushes inside the tool that have come loose and come off. So you're going to go ahead and take this off, and then you're going to want to have a cleaning cloth handy, maybe a couple of them depending upon, again, how dirty your ride is. So after you've got that done, you're just going to want to run the chain through the cloth and dry it off as much as possible. This will also add another step of cleaning to the chain. Again, it's nice to put pressure on the chain, so I like to grab it in my hand and then just pull my thumb up and run the chain through so that you're pulling on it and you're able to clean and dry off various sides of the chain at the same time. As you're doing this, if you notice any of the little plastic pieces, you can go ahead and pull those out. Sometimes they get stuck in the rear derailleur too, so just keep an eye on that. While I'm drying the chain, I do like to go through and clean off any of the dirt and debris around the rear derailleur. cogs. You can do this just by spinning the rear derailleur and holding the cloth that you're cleaning with in between the openings there. You can just wipe off the dirt that way. It's fairly simple. Do that for both of them back there. Just helps keep everything nice and clean. Since dust and debris, grit, road, dirt is really bad for these little gears back here. Depending upon which model you have, some of them are carbon fiber or plastic. The lower end models are usually metal, but even still those are not good. Like to clean off all of the gears, so just wipe down the front ones and the rear ones while we're going through. You can get both sides. The cleaner does a really good job of cleaning off all of that grit and grime, so that'll look nice and shiny once you're done. Just like it did off the showroom floor. You can kind of get back here and do some of these as well. Depending upon how detail oriented you are and the kind of cloth that you have. I like to use microfiber cloths, of course, for obvious reasons. But you can go use the ends of them and clean off in between each cog back here and wipe out any dirt and debris that's built up down there. You know, depends on your level of commitment and time, but this is a way to do it if that's something that you notice that you don't like. The next thing you want to do is, of course, re-lube the chain. Your choice of lube is completely preferenced up to you. Whatever it is that you like, if you have a preferred lubrication type, that's all up to you. Wet, dry, whatever. Brand. I personally prefer White Lightning's Clean Ride. It's a wax lube. It is great for helping to keep the chain looking clean. It doesn't last very long since it is a drier one. So, you know, you have to re-lube the chain pretty frequently, depending upon how much you ride. You know, if you ride frequently, you'll know that already. If you're not a frequent rider, you can usually get, you know, by for a week or two, depending upon, again, how many miles you go. That looks pretty good. If you've taken the little plastic piece that comes on your bike off here, the chain catch or guard, you can stick your finger back in here and clean the dirt off the inside. If you haven't and you don't want to take it off, that's totally your preference. A lot of people don't like the safeguard. To remove that safeguard, some people don't care. They'd much rather take it off. They think the bike looks cleaner, but again, personal preference. So I'm just going to run the chain through here just a few more times just to make sure it's nice and clean, dry. Quick note, if you do leave your bike outside and you get some rust on your chain at all, this is a good way to clean it off. It does do a very good job of cleaning the rust off of the chain. It does take more work. You have to run it through quite a few more times, but I do leave my bike out on the balcony. It's not exposed to direct weather and rain, but it does get misted and wet from time to time. So my chain does tend to rust more frequently than one if you leave it indoors. So this is the lube I like to use. It's pretty inexpensive. It's about $9 for a bottle, and you can get quite a few lubes out of this size bottle. This is a 4 fluid ounce bottle. So you're just going to want to shake it up. When you get it, you'll notice that it's separated. There's a blue liquid and a white liquid inside the bottle. So you want to shake it up, make sure you get it nice and mixed up. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of residue sediment down there on the bottom. Just make sure you shake it up, get it all mixed up. Now, the instructions just tell you to put one little drop around on the chain, run it around, let it dry, wipe off the excess. I like to do it a little bit more frequently, a little bit more liberal, and run it through, because this is self-cleaning. You've just done, it does help again clean it just even that little bit more. So I'm using a new clean rag so that the cleaning solution is not contaminating this part of the process. So we're just going to unscrew the top there, and I'm going to go around and just lube up the bottom ones. You don't really have to push on it at all, you'll notice. It's very easy to do. So, and then I'm just going to run it around. Sometimes it helps if you have a little Sharpie and you just want to make a little mark on one of the chain links to know where it was that you started and left off. Or if you're good with visuals, you can just keep a visual record of where you're starting and stopping. So you're just going to want to go through and do each one of these. I like to hold the cloth underneath just because you do get drippage. And that's pretty much put a little bit of the lube on each one of our chain links. And I'm just going to run it through a few times, let it kind of work in. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and clean the excess off just the same way we were drying the chain off. Just wrapping it around, the cloth around, and kind of putting some down pressure on it so that you're cleaning around each one of the chain links. You'll notice that the cloth is still dirty. The chain may look completely clean, but it's not. There is still dirt inside here, and depending upon how long it's been since you cleaned it, if ever, and how dirty it was when you clean it, will dictate how dirty it is when you are doing this part of the process. But I like to go ahead and do this quite a few times. And then, after we've done that, I'll reapply the lube again. Some people think this is wasteful, unnecessary, but it's really not expensive and it doesn't take very much to do, so I really don't see the harm in it, and it's nice to have a nice, clean, well lubricated chain when you're out riding. Rinse and repeat as many times as you feel necessary. If you want to take it through the gears, you're certainly welcome to do that. I do that from time to time. Helps get a little bit of the lube onto each one of the cogs back here, onto your rear derailleur, front and rear gears as well. I don't like to spin it the chain forward. I just like to back spin the gears at this part of the process until I've gotten a decent amount of lube on there. Of course, if you're going to spin it through the gears, you do have to go forward. Just a couple of revolutions around each time. You should notice a difference in the sound after you've done a nice good cleaning and re-lube. It should be a bit quieter of a ride. It's also a good time to take note of any adjustments that need to be made to front or rear derailleurs, whether you're going to do those yourself or report them to your mechanic at your shop. You can tell them exactly what gear it is that's having an issue. So just do a quick inspection of the chain, see how it looks. Cog in each link just to make sure there's no damages or links that need to be replaced or worn out. I'm going to do one final lube and wipe down before I let it rest. You do want to let it dry before you go on a ride, so this is something that you should do after a ride, not before you go out on a ride, because if it's wet when you run out and go for a ride, you're going to get stuff stuck to your chain. So that kind of defeats the purpose. We'll do one more up through the gear. quickly, getting it up through each one of the gears. And that should do it. Like I said, you'll want to let this sit and rest, let that, depending on the lube. If you're using a wet dry lube, you need to let it dry before you go for a ride. And that's it.